Welcome to the Ascension Alchemists Podcast. This is your host, Michael Abramson, and I'm so excited to be with you here today on my solo episode 101, as I just want to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for joining the 100th episode celebration podcast. It still behooves me, and it still is a wonder that, wow, in less than a year, we have created 100 episodes. And it's not about us per se, but it's more about the message that is delivered to all of you. Because in my wildest dreams, I always felt I was here to share something very special across the whole world. And never in my life would I imagine there would be a portal, or should I call podcast, a technology that has given us the ability to reach 67 countries out of the 195 countries on this world. I did the math. It's 34% of all countries, which is roughly one out of every 3 countries. There has been a person that's listened to this podcast. So I just want to give a heartfelt thanks because it means a lot. And even though I want to travel to every 67 countries to personally shake your hands, it just gives this deeper sense of appreciation that the divine, infinite intelligence, God, Creator, Almighty, has placed us in a position where we can share these messages of the divine, and especially during this great time of awakening. So how are you guys doing today? Because there is a lot happening right now. Here we are in the midst of August. There's so much that's occurring, so much noise around us. And to me, I asked the question for this powerful, great shift, this powerful, great awakening is, what happens if the greatest awakening in the world right now isn't happening outside of ourselves? It's happening within us. Because on one story, if we look outward, it's telling us that we're living in a time of tremendous uncertainty, wars, politics, fears, economic struggles. Every day we're given more and more reasons to look outside of ourselves due to the external distractions. But what if there's another story that's happening at the same time? These are the stories, and these are the messages that Honey and I are so passionate to share, because we know there is a greater awakening happening within us. We are moving into what I would call the most profound time we've ever lived in. And what happens if right now it's for us to really dive deep beneath all the noise? We see that there's a deeper awakening in humanity. Awakening and asking the questions. The questions of, who am I? What do I truly believe in? What is God calling me to become? How do I live from faith versus fear? And how do I choose to live in full alignment and embodiment of my true divine self? For many are starting to go deep. And perhaps that's why you're here right now. Not simply to listen to another podcast, but to pause, to breathe, to reconnect and remember who you are. Remembering that you are this infinite divine intelligence. You are an expression of God Almighty, and that you have the ability to do anything with God by your side, within and all around you. And it's really interesting in this day and age, because when I look at these 100 episodes and I look at the messages that are being brought forward, it's so fascinating to understand that more and more people are awakening within, something that we're recognizing deep in a way that goes beyond everything that we've been taught. Yet I still have a very deep question, a question that I've asked myself, and a question that I ask for each and every one of you. In a world that is constantly trying to influence what we think, how you feel, what you believe, are you consciously choosing your life, or are you allowing the world to choose it for you? Because right now, we have a choice. We have a very powerful choice. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where I truly believe it becomes our own sovereignty, our own ability to become what I fully believe we are, and that's infinite potential that is placed in our human body. You know, we are facing one of the greatest challenges facing humanity today. You know, the world constantly competes for our attention. Every notification, every headline, even every social media post. We see it every single day, from the political arguments and every crisis that's outside of us. And what I've learned is, where our attention goes, the energy flows. Yet, we have a choice right now. And we're sitting on a great choice, because we can look outwardly in this fear-based reality, or we can look inwardly. And we can remember that we have a choice. We have a choice to give our authority to something so much greater than what we're seeing on the outside. We can give our authority to our God-given nature. Because isn't it up to us to define who we are versus the world trying to define who you are? It's been one of my biggest and greatest challenges growing up. I'm sure many of you can relate. Where growing up, it was important to fit in. It was important to follow the rules. It was important to be accepted. And one of the areas that I would say has been the greatest feat is shifting that belief. Shifting where I was looking through the eyes of others to accept myself, because somewhere I wasn't accepting me. Somewhere I was looking outwardly for validation, outwardly for approval. Yet what happens when we shift that and we look inward and we understand in this great awakening, it becomes our ability to choose what God has already given us from our birth. Our divine inheritance of prosperity, abundance, security, stability. We have so much potential within us that I really find in this time of awakening, these messages that we share are helping us to remember that there is a greater being within us. There is a greater essence that's coming through and shining upon us to remember who we are. It's been amazing to spend decades and decades in learning about this human body. And I was only learning it from the exterior, just like life, looking at it from the outer aspects. But then when I started to go deeper, and I started to see that the more that my choices were aligned with more of the universal laws versus human rules, the laws of compassion, the laws of kindness, the laws of reciprocity, the law of attraction. When I started to look at these choices that are divinely within me, I started to see that it became a greater area for me to embody and then to feel what I believe many of us are moving into as our divine presence, our God Almighty presence. Because when we align our mind, our body, our spirit, then we are naturally connected to the infinite intelligence that moves through us. So what happens right now? Wherever you are right now, you just take a breath. You just put your feet on the ground. You take a slow breath in and take a slow breath out. And just notice yourself. What have you been giving your energy to? What have you been occupying your mind? What have you been afraid of? And most importantly, is this where you consciously want to choose where you place your energy? Because your attention is powerful. Your breath is powerful. Your beliefs are powerful. And your choices are powerful. We don't have to let the external world determine our inner world. It's up to us where we choose to give our attention to. We choose where we want to place our belief. And most important, we choose on who we want to become. Because maybe it's more than just following what's happening outside of us. But it's starting to become aware of what choices do I need within to align to my greater God presence. And these choices all start from just placing yourself into alignment, into balance, into peace, something that our external environment doesn't teach. That is why it's so crucial for it to become a daily practice. In this daily practice, which I share a lot with the men's circle, which I'll be having on August 27th at 8 p.m. with a dear brother, Paul Luftenegger, a devoted brother, I share with the men how important it is to bring that alignment first thing in the morning. First thing in recalibrating ourselves so that we have the ability to start each foot and step on the ground in the right direction. And what happens if right now, because of how much noise, how much distraction, how much is happening outside of us, it's requiring us to ground deeper in our greater choice, not only to align and balance, but embody our divine given nature. And one of the things I do when I work with individuals in mentoring is I help them really bring forth their purpose, what they're here to do in life, because many of us are just unfortunately following what the world has given us, and that's neither right or wrong, good or bad. It just is what is happening. But as we start to shed the layers of the illusions, the ego, or who we think we are, there's going to be a point of really understanding how important every choice we make. That choice can be as simply as, can I just perceive this moment being more positive, allowing faith to occur, versus perceiving a moment more negative, which doubt arises. Our choices right now are so important that what I do first thing in the morning is give my authority to what I know is the most authentic, powerful choice in the world. And that is the divine creation within me and all around. And that is why these messages that we share to you is another remembrance of what that divine creation is calling within you right now. Because what happens if out of everything that you're going through right now and everything that is happening in this world, it now becomes the power of your choice in choosing you and how you want to live versus how the world wants you to live. We are in some incredible transformative moments. And a lot of us are moving through moments where we're literally letting go of the old versions of ourselves that we thought that was our identity, the mask, the ego. Yet what happens if right now your greatest ability is to choose the God-given presence within you, embody that, and allow that to take place? Because what happens if life is not here for you to follow it based on what you're seeing on the outside, but choose to live from it from the inside? And that inside has been seeded within you ever since you were created on this earth. That is why I'm so excited within these episodes, these messages that we get to share. It brings a greater remembrance, a remembrance that you have everything that you need already within yourself. And what happens if it just takes that remembrance of watering those seeds of creation so that all of a sudden life is living through you and we become the dreams, the wishes that were naturally seeded within us, and choosing what we want very carefully, using discernment on where we want to place our attention, focusing on alignment in every day and every moment so that we can embody our divine presence, our God Almighty nature. To me, that is what I believe we are at a standpoint right now, because there's a whole world and a whole story that's happening out in this external world, which is very beautiful, in the nature, in the mountains, in the beach. Yet there's also a lot of distractions, a lot of noise that are pulling us in where we want to give our attention, especially within technology, especially within social media. So what happens if now becomes your greatest point to step back and to really focus on where I choose to give my attention? And how I can give my authority, how I can give my obedience, abiding, and giving authority to the greatest creation that brought us into existence. This is what Ascension Alchemy is all about. It's ascending to our greatest version of ourselves while alchemizing these lower densities. And these lower densities are part of the journey so that we can become who we were created to be. And in that becoming, it's that releasing and letting go what no longer serves us. We may judge it good or bad, but what happens if it's just releasing old conditions, programs, limited beliefs, and now we're rising into our God-given power? And to do that, it requires where we place our attention in the choice, through alignment, in embodying our God-given nature. And no better time to do it now. As the world turns, the noise gets louder, and we can turn within to ground and align to a level that provides that peace and harmony. One thing I know about the human body is that we operate naturally in a regulated central nervous system, which we feel a level of comfort, of peace, joy, and happiness. Yet when that becomes dysregulated due to external outward noise and distraction, it reminds us that we have a choice within of where we want to give our energy to. So I share this because it's an area that I focus, my beloved honeybee focuses on, and our programs, our offerings are all about bringing that alignment and embodiment into our greatest version of ourselves, which I feel and see is happening to a higher level that we can expand into. And it's all from within ourselves. As many of you already know this, it's a remembrance, it's a divine nature that I feel the more that we allow ourselves to move into, we're going to see some of the most phenomenal changes. Yet it requires the discipline, the commitment, and the responsibility to make it a daily practice. So I just want to thank you all for taking this time, for remembering your choice, your empowerment, your ability to align, and to embody what God Almighty has already given to you. Because in these next months and years, it's a start of what I see bringing heaven within us to earth by acting in our divine nature. And this divine nature is here for each and every one of us to enjoy and to fully allow in how we live each and every day. So up, and beyond, from 101 to greater creations, to more collaborations, and the ability for us to keep sharing these messages, because truly it is from our heart that we really feel of the greater divine nature that comes through us. To remind each and every one of you that you have the capacity, capability to move into your greatest version. And that is why Ascension Alchemy focuses on that alignment in embodying so that we can fully receive all that we're meant to be. We are an infinite, divine, abundant beings of creation. And I'm so excited to see where these next days, weeks, and months go. But most important, I'm excited in this community and each and every one that are listening, because I know somewhere each message through 101 episodes have brought a level of awareness, curiosity, and an activation or remembrance that's allowed you to remember who you are, a divine, sacred, magnificent, phenomenal being that is here to thrive into the greatest version. So once again, thank you all for joining on this beautiful 101 podcast. And as always, we look forward to each and every episode of sharing these divine messages from our hearts to yours. Wishing you all a most beautiful and blessed day.